from a medical user like myself, we need it to function. We need the effects to be there to not be in our bed 24/7 or to not be in pain all the time. We need it to be happy most days. If we're depressed, then we need use for depression. Like, a lot of people don't realize that the effects that cannabis gives off, the effects that they see as bad, are actually pretty good. When you haven't recorded a video in so long, and the last video you record, it ends up being muted, yeah. And you love me, as long as you love me. Alright, hey everyone, how's it going? It's your boy Trevor here. Welcome to my cannabis enthusiasts. Let's talk about cannabis today, why don't we? And I figure let's talk about a cannabis use disorder diagnosis and what it means and why I think it's not really the most appropriate diagnosis to have in a book of mental health diagnoses, because it's very comparable to video game addiction, because it's all mental, or it's majoritively mental. Things like alcohol and opiates are very addictive, both mentally and physically. Meanwhile, cannabis is only really addictive mentally. I mean, you can get addicted to feeling good with it because you're used to not feeling good with it. You can get addicted to taking it like you would take an antidepressant, and that you need to take it every day in order to feel good about life, and that you need to keep building that in your system. I mean, it could be good for your body and good for PTSD, but physically it won't cause many issues. The only issues it should cause are like stomach issues, in the sense that it will make it, once you quit, your body becomes used to the THC producing ghrelin, which makes you hungry, or which tells you you're hungry, and your body doesn't get hungry, so it kind of like desensitized to it for a couple days, but it returns to its normal state of mind, to its normal state of being, in a couple days. Now, is that, there's also lung issues that can happen, not in terms of anything too bad. It can cause bronchitis, but it's not cause any cancer. It's not proven to cause cancer. It's not shown to cause cancer. I can't use the word proven because it's science, but it's not shown to cause cancer. It's not shown to do any form of comedogenic properties. Yeah. So, let's talk about why do I think that cannabis use disorder is, I don't want to say bullshit diagnosis, but I think it is borderline iffy diagnosis that should be walked back, or maybe not walked back, but changed relatively soon for some of them. So let's talk about let's go through the symptoms, and we'll kind of do that, okay? Okay, cool. So, symptoms of cannabis use disorder. The first one is use of cannabis for at least a 1 year period with the presence of at least 2 of the following symptoms, accompanied by significant impairment of functioning and distress. And then it lists the next 8 symptoms, or it lists like 9 symptoms, or 10 symptoms, like, yeah, you need to have 2, which, as a minimum, for the mild case. So that's kind of frustrating that, like, 2 out of 10 is the big thing. But I guess the alcohol one also has, like, 12 and you need, like, 2 or 3, so that's fine. Anyways, difficulty containing use of cannabis. The drug is used in larger amounts over a long period than intended. Okay, yes. I can see why this one would be an issue if a person was not paying rent, or not buying their kids food, or not paying for the kids for whatever, just not paying for what needs to be paid for. But if it's a medicine and you need it to function, then I would say that one's pretty much null, unless like you're using so much that you're not able to pay other bills. Like, sometimes we have to skimp for medicine because, medicine is important. But, on the other hand, I can see why someone who just keeps using and doesn't take a tolerance break might end up using a whole lot of it over time. So, but yeah, I can see how that one would be a symptom. I just don't think that I don't see an issue with using large amounts. I don't personally see an issue. Like, a lot of people drink coffee every day to stay awake. A lot of people, there are a lot of different things that people do to. That's not good for the body, obviously, but it's something that people do. Anyways, number 3, or really number 2 on this list. Repeated failed efforts to discontinue or reduce the amount of cannabis that is used. Okay, so if you are wanting to reduce your cannabis use and you don't, or you're having trouble reducing it, then I would say, yeah, you probably have that symptom. But the main issue is that a lot of cannabis users that are conscious of their use know when cannabis has reached its potency and where it's kind of reached that point where, like, your body is so used to it that it's like, oh, like, I need to take a break, a tolerance break, to have the effects be there, so that way I know that I have the medicine in me, but also so that way I can use less medicine over time after a break. Usually the break's like a week or two. It can be a month sometimes if you're looking for a job thing. A job drug test, which is also biased towards the illegality of cannabis. So we'll get to that in a minute, though. But yeah, I can see why that would be an issue. But again, most users I know are conscious of their use and are conscious of when they need a tolerance break. So it's not like heroin where you need to use it every second to survive once you get addicted to it. Like, it's not like that at all. Anyways, number 3 on this list: an inordinate amount of time is occupied acquiring, using, or recovering from the effects of cannabis. Okay, so this was annoying me because for one, okay, well, I do agree that it shouldn't be the whole primary emphasis of your day. It shouldn't be what your day revolves around. However, that's not the case for everyone. I would say that for medical users like myself, and I'm looking at it from both sides of things. As medical users like myself, we need it to function. We need the effects to be there, to not be in our bed 24/7 or to not be in pain all the time. We need it to be happy most days. If we're depressed, then we need you for depression. Like, a lot of people don't realize that the effects that cannabis gives off, the effects that they see as bad, are actually pretty good. And we can become immune to the effects of the cannabis. The ones that people see as bad, like the euphoria and the spacing out and like all that stuff. We can get better at dealing with it as we get used to using it. The more chronically used is, the more used to the symptoms you are, and the less that they're gonna happen because you're so used to symptoms that they kind of like they take a back seat almost. They're like, okay, I'm gonna go back here and bother you, but you can't see it, so I'm not going to, and you get used to the symptoms. You get used to how it's making you feel and how to actually function. For me, I can't study. I can't do anything. I don't think I could even work a job in the future if I wasn't high at work, because it hurts my stomach so badly to even be without it for an hour more than I have to, because it's so bad. It hurts so badly. I can't even move on my bed some mornings without using it because it hurts so badly. And people don't realize that you can't work a job if you're in so much pain that you can't function. But meanwhile, if you're thinking about it a lot and it's all you're thinking about, I do think that you need to take a step back and reprioritize life and think about that. That's all I think. Anyways, number 4, cravings or desires to use cannabis. So this one can include intrusive thoughts and images and dreams about cannabis, or olfactory perceptions of smell of cannabis due to preoccupation with cannabis. Okay, this one's frustrating. Because there are not many people that have cravings of cannabis. And even then, would you say the same about coffee, or would you say the same thing about a flower that is not cannabis? Like, would you say the same thing about essential oils? Like, this is such a big thing that I don't think people realize is so big. Is that we're humans. It's okay to crave and desire things. It's okay to crave a new job, to desire something good in life. It's okay to crave things. It's not bad to be craving a chocolate cake. As long as you don't eat a chocolate cake every day, you're fine. But it's mind-boggling to think that people can just equate an everyday craving or desire because you need it to function, or just because it makes you happy. The end of the day you can come back home from work and relax and smoke a little bit, and it just frustrates me that you can say that about cannabis, but I don't know, it's frustrating. So number 5 on this list is continued use of cannabis despite adverse consequences from its use, such as criminal charges, ultimatums of abandonment from a spouse, partner, friends, and poor productivity. So, this is the one that makes me the most upset out of all of them, basically. This is one of the ones that makes me the most upset, because you can't control criminal charges that are put on you because you use cannabis. You can't control being discriminated against for jobs because you use cannabis for medical issues. It's not covered under ADA. You can't control cannabis even just off duty. There have been doctors that have smoked, and granted, you shouldn't. I don't know. Doctors have smoked off of duty and gotten tested on duty where they would never be anywhere close to high on duty, and got labeled as cannabis use disorder because the medical system diagnosed them with that. It's frustrating that they can use it one time in a month, and be diagnosed with symptoms of cannabis use disorder as a doctor. It blows my mind that people can have that happen to them. People are getting their lives ruined. Rapists like Brock Turner are getting out of jail for free, but a cannabis person is gonna be in jail for life. It's upsetting and mind-numbing, the amount of issues. And you can't just say that cannabis use will cause poor productivity. You can't. Because everybody's different. For everyone's use, it affects them differently. Every cannabis strain affects you differently. You can use any type of strain you want to, and it'll affect you differently. I'm sorry, but there's no way to tell that one's going to be productive and one's not going to be productive, except for the lineage of what we know about each one. We know that certain ones are more productive, and certain ones are not more productive, and we know that because of the lineages that we've seen people matching plants up with. So, like, if genetically you combine two plants and they make, take one plant like OG Kush and one plant like Platinum Cookies, like, you combine them, then it's just going to make a cross of the two that are, that should have relatively similar effects as the other two did. So, yeah. You can't just say that cannabis causes poor productivity. You can't just blanket statement that. That is a bullshit statement that I want to be erased from everyone's mind right now. Okay, next one is other important activities in life, such as work, school, hygiene, and responsibility to family and friends, are superseded by the desire to use cannabis. If a person is using cannabis where they can't talk to people that they love, or can't go to work or school, you have a problem. If you're doing anything that has that type of thing over you, where you don't talk to people you love, or you don't eat food for days, or you don't go to work or school, you don't do your work or school, like, you have a problem with anything if that's the case. It's so mind-bogglingly frustrating. Like, for me personally, I need the use of cannabis to study for school. I would need to use cannabis to study or do work. These are things that cannabis helps me get out of bed and not feel pain to do. These are things that help me not focus on my PTSD memories and not be completely dissociated, or be in a dissociation that I can control. It makes me feel better and makes me able to do things. I know that a lot of people are like that. it's something that they can come home to relax to at the end of the day, and then they're fired for it from off-duty stuff. It's mind-boggling. It's so stupid that you can be blacklisted in certain fields because you use cannabis. You can, with alcohol and with opiates, they get out of your system within like 8 hours or something like that. Cannabis, it takes like 3 days for someone that just used it once, or even like up to a month for a chronic user. It's frustrating to have such the same. It's like they're using the same thing of like, okay, well, we'll test you. We have a test for it, but like the specificity for it is way off for cannabis, and yet they're still using it compared to alcohol, which is way like it's really frustrating. I guess is the word that I kind of used to describe that one. Number 7, cannabis is used in contexts that are potentially dangerous to operating a motor vehicle. I talked about that one already, but the motor vehicle thing is like, if you're a chronic user and use the effects, you can drive. If you're conscious of your level of high and you're conscious of how the high is affecting you and how you feel the high. Sometimes I'm so euphoric that I can't even drive a car or do work for school, and I schedule things around that. I don't have to do certain things on some days because I know that I don't have to, and I'll put it off till a different day if I use too much of one thing, or if I wake up in a weird mood, I'll put off school until I'm in a better mood, or I won't drive until. So it's like you have to be a conscious person. You can't just use cannabis and say, okay, I'm gonna drive. Yeah, sure. You have to know yourself, know your limits, know where you are at and where the cannabis level is at for you. Number 8 is cannabis use continues despite awareness of physical or psychological problems attributed to use, inertia, and motivation cost. So, well, I don't think that amotivation is a bad thing. I think that them labeling all cannabis use as leading to amotivation. Chronic cough, I don't see that as an issue unless you're pulling a lung every time or else you're coughing up a lung, but like even then is a hell of a lot better than being in pain 24/7. Like, what the fuck's wrong with these people? You want someone to be in pain where they can't do anything yet, and all because of a chronic cough? Okay, cool, yeah. You want people to feel tortured in their everyday life because it's so. You see the constrained system they have in this blocked-in system. So number 9 is that tolerance to cannabis, as defined by progressively larger amounts of cannabis, are needed to obtain the psychoactive experience when use first commenced. So basically, they're saying if you have a tolerance to it, then you should quit. Then that's a symptom. Can these people fuck off, please? Because it makes no sense. Like, you need to have a tolerance to certain medications, like to antidepressants, for example, to have the effects happen. If you have a tolerance, cannabis is one of the easiest medications to take a break from. It's one of the easiest things to take a break from, ever. It barely causes any type of symptoms. You might have a little bit of insomnia, you might have a little bit of not being hungry, but you're more likely going to have other, better issues than someone that's detoxed from alcohol or opiates, for example. So, a tolerance to something is not a bad thing. And these people make it off to be like it's a bad thing. And even then, a person that has a high tolerance or has been using it for a while will actually be more adept at the effects, know how to get through them, and it probably won't happen as often too because they'll kind of be aware of it and they'll know what to avoid for strains. And then finally, the last one is number 10. Withdrawal, defined as a typical withdrawal symptom associated with cannabis or similar substance, is used to prevent withdrawal symptoms. There are like zero. No, I don't want to say zero, but there are very, 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 very few withdrawal symptoms to the point where it's laughable to label that when something that is lower on the DEI schedule, like alcohol, has way worse withdrawal symptoms to the point where they have seizures. Take that in mind. Obviously, the DSM is very biased to the government and to what's going on socially, and this needs to change in the future. And as a scientist, it discourages me to know that people view my the field that I want to go into, but also the field that matters to me, because I am a chronic user. I have to use it, and I'm being told that all these things are wrong with me when in reality they're not. They're just putting it on me as if they're putting it on us as if we're bad people, and as if all these things are bad for us. When in reality, I think most of those are bullshit. And I hope you agree with me. If you did, let me know how blah 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 blah. If you did, let me know what you think of that whole video. It's a long video, I know, but I just wanted to go through it and talk about that because it's really frustrating. It's mind-boggling how socially inept these diagnosticians can be when making these symptoms up in terms of what they're seeing. And I don't think that it's not biased. I don't think it's not biased towards this, towards what the society is at right now, and I don't like that. Because it's viewed this way, it has to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. You're making it appear that way, and that's what's happening. And I'm sick of it. Alright, cool. Anyways, bye guys, have fun. I'll be your whole world, fighting every second of the day for your dreams, girl.